It's Don here from the board. Thank you for checking out another one of our videos. In this video, I'm going to be looking at a product which isn't directly related to keyboards, but I felt it was a pretty useful tool, especially since with keyboards we deal a lot with very small items. And when I say small items, I'm talking about switches, I'm talking about keycaps, I'm talking about springs, stems, SIP sockets, LEDs, all sorts of small things. Things that, you would probably squint to look at sometimes. Maybe you might need to get a magnifying glass. Or if you were really curious, especially if you were looking at things such as Dysubbed or double shots, if you ever had a keycap break and you wanted to just check out how all of that looked as a side profile, or if you just wanted to, I don't know, have a look at things very, very, very close up. And of course, what I'm talking about is a microscope. Now, this review, and I do have to say it up front, is provided to us. We did not pay for this product, so it is a review unit that was sent to me, but I'm going to give it a critical, honest review because that's just the way I am. So I do apologize to the makers of this product that if the review doesn't come out favorably, but that's what you get when you put it out for review. So what am I talking about? I am talking about the Pluggable USB 2 Digital Microscope. Now, for those who are not familiar with Pluggable, they are a company that specialize particularly with USB devices. They were really kind to send this over to me, as well as one of their keyboard units, which I will do a review as well, or have had done a review depending on when this video is being released. And yeah, and as you can see, I've got some of the artisans that I've recently acquired on the table because we can have a look at them as well. So the first thing is, let's just check out the box. I have not opened this, so it is fresh and clean and unopened, and we can see that it's a very small, neat little package, and there are some specifications there. So the specifications read, it's a 2.0 interface, it has a 60 to 250 times magnification, it uses 4 SMD LEDs that are dimmable, it's a CMOS sensor, and it has a camera mode which produces a 1600 by 1200 snapshot or a 600 by 400 video, and you can use this across both Mac OS and Windows OS. So yeah, it's a neat little package, I guess, and I think this would be very handy. And I do like the fact that at the front here it is written as to enrich, educate, and explore. So this as a kit would be perfect, especially if you've got, say, a younger person, or maybe for schools, that kind of stuff. And I guess we'll have to see. So the package says it contains the actual microscope, a stand, and a quick start guide. All right, let's crack it open. Okay. Now this was obviously shipped to me from the US, so it survived the trip quite nicely. And there we go. Okay. Wow. It's got a nice formed package. There it is. There's the actual microscope head. Looks like the holder, a flexible arm, a suction cap base, and of course the cable is already attached. It is not a detachable cable. We've got a quick start guide, and there is our base. It's a good thickness. It's a couple of mils thick. It's a bit flexible, but that's okay. It's designed to be a base, so can't really complain about that. Let's have a look of the quick start guide. So for more information, you can hit up Pluggable, and it features, let's see if I can read that. Enables you to explore the microscopic world. Well, I'll read that so you don't get a headache from the blur. From your host device with 60 to 250 times magnification, you can get up close and personal with the world around you. The microscope includes a stand with a flexible arm and a 5x5mm grid. The flexible arm allows you to securely position the microscope as close or as far away as necessary, and simultaneously take reference measurements with the grid. There are also graduated measurements for inches and centimeters on the side of the stand. With a quick snap, the microscope can be removed from the stand and handheld for even greater freedom. Quickly scan over large areas and do point-to-point inspections of printed circuit boards. Wow, that's really interesting. And snap it back in place for hands-free work. Instructions. Install software and drivers from Pluggable. Okay, we'll have to do that. Plug the microscope into any USB port. Open the previously installed software. In Settings, ensure microscope is the selected device. For more specs, blah blah blah. Troubleshooting. Software does not detect microscope. Ensure the microscope is fully inserted or try another USB and start the software. Software is showing my other camera. Change the appropriate device in the settings menu, and unable to achieve high levels of magnification. When the clear shield is touching the object, there are 2 levels of magnification. Try rotating the focus ring until you are able to achieve the second magnification level. So that's pretty handy. Nice little quick start. And I guess the first thing to do is let me install the drivers. Now, I've actually got that on my other screen, the actual Pluggable page. So let's check that out. Let's see if, there we go, software and drivers up the top, nice and quick and easy, hopefully. Camera app for Windows. What do I want? Do I want this one? Or do I want this one? Let's try this digital viewer thing. Alright, let me drag that off the screen. Let me find somewhere I can appropriately put it so I'm not going to lose it. Okay, 12 megabytes for that digital viewer. It's done. Is it doing something? Yes, it is. Pluggable Technologies. Let's change that to D drive. And away we go. Now, my machine's a couple of years old. It's running a i7 core of some description, so you can see the speed that it's taking to actually execute and install. It's thinking. It's thinking. There's a bunch of things are happening. What's it doing? It's still thinking. And there we go. It's done. Close. Now, let's see if I can find the software. Pluggable Digital Viewer. Camera is being used by another application. No preview is available. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to move that over to my right hand monitor so we can see what's going on. It's a simple looking interface. So take a photo, start recording, settings, about, and exit. Well, down the bottom it says camera is being used by another application. No preview is available. Now that is because it's actually trying to detect my webcams, which I'm using to record the video with, as opposed to the actual microscope. So let's switch back over to what's happening on the table, and let's put this camera together. So quick start guide, you can go back in the box. Let's take our stand out and lay that down. It's a pretty nifty stand. Let's take the suction cup out. Our gooseneck. Oh, it's got a good amount of weight to it, which is excellent. The actual clip. So, let's put the clip on first. I guess it doesn't really matter which way it goes. So, just screws on. And then the base goes on as well. Pretty nifty. Now, it's kind of hard to see on this, maybe on it. Yeah, so you can see they've actually got a smooth section that's designed here specifically for the suction cap. So you can actually get the most, I guess, suction surface, clean suction off the surface. So let's put that down and give it a clamp. Oh, check that out. So that's holding vertically quite well. You can see I'm actually flexing the board with that. So excellent. And I can move the gooseneck and it's not losing its suction. Whoa. Nope, that was just unscrewing it. Perfect, perfect. Alright, so let's get the camera out of the blister. Let's move that off the table. And now, while I've got the camera in hand, you can see there's their logo. There's a brightness dial there as well. I think that's actually a touchable contact button, maybe. We'll have to play with it. And then at the front, there's focus, and you can twist that ring, I believe. Is that? Oh, okay. So, yeah, you can spin the grey bit, and that'll change the focus. And if we look close, you can see the 4 SMD LEDs that will provide the illumination as well. Alright, let's clip. Now, it does have these divots on the side, which I believe match up to the actual little holding pins. So, it should hold in nicely just like that. Fantastic. Take off the twist tie. Now I do have a USB extension. We'll see if it will actually work with it. Otherwise, I'll have to find a alternative jack for it. All right. Now, oh, there we go. Look at that. Nice. So my Skype actually also recognized it as a webcam, which is pretty funny because if you wanted to, you could use this microscope for a webcam. And I guess that's useful if you actually want to share what you're seeing on the microscope. Right, so you can see it's extremely bright, which is fantastic. Gives you great illumination. Now, I'm going to switch over to the monitor. And we can check out what it's seeing. So it's actually recognized it by default, which is excellent. So let's open that up all the way. See if I can focus on the grid. Twist in one way and go in the other way. It's quite a lot of focal length. Oh, look at that. And we have focus. That's pretty cool. So well, you can see my horrible skin. Awesome. Let's try a cap. And of course, the orientation is going to be that way. I'm just going to turn around so I know what way I'm facing. And hey, there we go. Of course, always have to shield myself. Ah, all right. Okay, now I understand. I had it 90 degrees, so while you're not actually seeing what's going on, I just rotated the orientation around. So I'll show you what I mean by, just quickly, that's the orientation, base away from you, which actually makes perfect common sense now that I think about it, but obviously I wasn't thinking about it. So let's get that in focus. Oh. All right, so this is an SA profile cap. I think it's a row 3 from Signature Plastics. It's PBT, and this has been Dysubbed by Busgamer with obviously our logo. However, we can see that it's actually really hard to see the image because of how glossy it is. Now, this is at maximum brightness on the brightness dial. So let's play with that and turn it down. And well, you can see that if I turn it all the way down and there's no illumination, that is purely the room light that's showing. And I have a phone call right now, so yeah, great. Alrighty, so I'm sorry about that brief interruption. Just had a phone call that I had to attend to, and so let's keep going. So I've just gone and dialed down the light setting on the actual LEDs on the microscope, which is great. And let's see if we can get something a little bit cleaner or crisper. It's probably about the limit of what we can do with the focus, but that's actually, you know, I'm relatively happy with that, especially because we are talking, it's a live feed, 640 by 480, and when it's blown up on a large monitor, obviously it doesn't look as nice. So I'm going to see if tapping the top does anything, and it does. So just by tapping it, you'll see that this little image has appeared on the side. Now that is just a snapshot of the image. I'm not sure if it's a HD picture or not. It doesn't look like it. So let's see. Can I stop the preview? Is there any way of stopping the preview? Well, we can just bump up the resolution just like that, which is pretty good. Let's apply. Hey, all right. So the default obviously was to the lowest, well, a lower resolution, and now we should be able to see maybe something a little bit nicer. Maybe let's just get some light happening there. Alright, that's probably about the limit that we're going to get on that. And if I touch the top, there we go, there's another snapshot. And if I open that up, we can see in Windows, there is the snapshot. Now if I take a photo, I wonder if it'll be a better image than the snapshot, because it might actually be at that high resolution. And no, it doesn't seem to be that much different, but that's okay. At least we kind of have an understanding of what we're getting out of the package here. So let's just take that away, and let's put the Bookey underneath, and we can check out what the Bookey looks like. Hey, so we can get the Bookey into focus. We can check out some of the details there. Let's just spin up a little bit of more light. Alright, so in terms of a live feed, I think it works pretty well, but because of the nature of the LEDs, it's probably not great for reflective surfaces, as you can see. We are picking up a bit of detail that you can actually observe here. So, you know, we can see quite nicely sort of like, let's see if I can, like, you know, there's the hole there for the buckle, and you know, we can kind of see the actual crafting marks and a bit of dust on the eyeball over there. Quite smooth. Obviously probably done with like a ball bearing or something as part of their original sculpt. Now I'm not sure how is there anything that we can do to play with magnification, or if it's just purely focus. I think it's just purely focus, but obviously if I you know, move that all the way down, and let's see if I can move the gooseneck a little bit. Oi, get right in on that eyeball, and let's tweak that focus. We can see, there we go. So there's that much higher zoom that we're talking about, getting close to that sort of 250 times zoom, and we can see there's a bit of I'm just going to take that out and have a look at it by eye. give it a bit of a blow on that to see if that was just actually a bit of dust or not. And let me put that back under. And no, so it actually looks like I have a bit of dust that is encapsulated into the eye of my Bookey. That's pretty cool to be able to see that level of detail, and you can also see, you know, the actual sculpting as well. Now, let's switch over to my Europa Halfshell, and we can see the actual glitter flakes within that, and interestingly enough, there's another bit of dust. Let me try and clear that and see if that was just surface dust or if it was actually encapsulated dust. It looks like it was just surface dust. So yeah, we can, it's a bit harder to see on this because there's not as much contrast, especially with the brightness against it and the fact that the glitter particles are reflecting quite brightly. So let me see if I can play with the zoom a little bit. Not so easy to work with. So if we just lift that zoom out, now I've got to refocus it again. Am I going the right way? I'm going the wrong way. Alright, there we go, there's the zoom. And with the actual white SMD LEDs, it was kind of getting a bit washed out. So the color correction that it's doing automatically is actually washing out the color. What can you do about it? Not terribly much, but at least you know it's something that you have to be aware of if you are wanting to take accurate color depictions. But the very low contrast of the pink in this particular resin means it's very difficult to actually see some of those details. And let's switch over to the No Escape. Now, I have had this confirmed that this is actually a V2 No Escape. So, correcting that from earlier, let's try and get that into a focus if we can. That's about as good as I'm going to get with a quick play around. We can see the fingers, the details on the fingers quite nicely. And let's see if I can check out what I had said the other day. Hey, so as I had said, which probably wasn't showing very well, look at that. It says COS, and then it says No Escape, and then it's got a squiggle and a 2 by the looks of it, which would be actually, it's still visible by the naked eye, but certainly you can appreciate it a lot better when you look at it under a microscope, simply because of the fact that those letters are only like maybe 2 millimeters high. Just to put that into perspective. Let's check out some of these other markings that COS has engraved. There's a heart over there, and we can have a look at the front. There's the lock. Doesn't seem to be any other hidden brickwork messages on this side. And then finally on the last side, it doesn't look like there's anything that is Easter egged either. And of course when we go to the underside, see if we can get that focus happening. Did I shoot past it? Alright, let's see if I can bump up the light. You can kind of see it. It's not very clean because it's very low contrast in this particular sort of angle, but there's the maker's mark. So if I actually try and do that with the Europa, there you go. So there is the crescent moon for the Nightcaps. And if we have a look at the Bookey, there is the K and the L for Keylusion. So yeah, and you can see how clean, and this was the comment that I'd actually said for this giveaway, was just how nice and clean that stem casting was. And if we compare it to the No Escape takes it from a keycap that has obviously the beveled edges going in as opposed to just a straight flat flushed, and the Europa also has a flat flush. But here's the really interesting thing is you can see these striations on the actual stem, and that indicates to me that it's been sanded smooth in this vertical sort of plane, because that would be the actual grinding marks going up and down. And there's no problem with that because they want a nice smooth flat bottom, and so of course one of the ways to do it is to actually sand it, and you can see the same kind of marks are here as well on the edge. Whereas if we have a look at, go back to looking at the Keylusion cap, there's no distinct sort of striations, and you can actually see where there's a sprue mark on the edge of the cap. So that's where they would have had a couple of the sprues for their mold to let out air and whatnot, but the actual edges are relatively sort of rough and unfinished, which that's fine too, but at least being able to look at it in this detail gives you an idea of sort of the craftsmanship and the consideration and effort that they put into their final product. Okay, so that's pretty much it in regards to, let's get out of that, having a look. There it is. There's the Pluggable website. Now it does retail for $35. Is it worth $35? I will say I think so. At $35, if you're going to use it just for looking at keycaps and key components, probably not. But if you're going to be using it because, you know, you've got a kid and they're in school and they're interested in looking at stuff under a bit more detail and they want to take pictures for reports and stuff, I think it would be pretty cool. I am going to keep on using this because I can use it to compare different sculpts. I will at some point probably also stick like some switches under it and some stems and maybe see if we can see any differences. But hey, so that is the Pluggable USB microscope, and there it is on the table, so you can see. And there's the centimeter scale, and then there's the inches scale, and it's doing pretty well, holding its own weight, holding up. Yeah, excellent. Alrighty. So I want to thank Pluggable very much for sending that to me. Pros and cons: it's lightweight, it's quick, it's easy to put together, you can take snapshots. Yes, not at very high resolution, but at least you can still visually see quite a good amount of detail depending on where you're going with it. The lighting, I think, is probably, it's adequate, but it needs to have better diffusion. It's probably the best way of describing it. Having had a background in microscopy, being able to put filters and things like that is really useful, but obviously at this kind of price range, it's very hard to do. What I might think about doing is possibly getting some milk bottle plastic, that white opaque stuff, and then maybe just cutting like a ring around it, and then I can put it on top of the actual, well, let's just pop that off. So if, let's just feel how warm that got. That got pretty warm. It was on for, what, maybe 20 minutes. It's not hot, it's just warm. And if we have a very sort of deep look, the camera is actually quite far at the back, and that's because you need to have a minimum working distance, which is obviously why this particular clear plastic section is, because if you have it pressed up against something, that's the minimum working distance for the 250 times zoom. Now if you have no idea what a working distance is, that's okay, but if you do know a little bit more about optics and focal lengths, then that's what we're talking about. So I would, now having a look at this, they already do have a bit of a diffuser because it's kind of like frosted plastic on the top, but it's not super heavy duty frosting. So maybe like I could just cut a bit out and tape it to the top here, because I don't want it to be in too much contact in case the heat is going to melt the plastic, and that'll just help soften that light and not be as reflective or glary on shiny surfaces. All right. Yeah, so there we go. What else can I say? If you do have any more questions or comments in regards to the pluggable microscope, please leave them below. And of course, if you're out on the forums and whatnot, and you do see anything about Pluggable, now Quakems, for example, reviewed a Pluggable keyboard, which is the same one that I've got, that I will be doing a review on as well. Do check it out and support them, because they're getting into the market and trying to provide affordable kits to people like you, like me. So thank you very much for checking out this video. I do apologize for the interruption in the middle with that phone call. I don't know how good my editing skills are going to be, but if it doesn't get edited out, then at least you know this is real life that's happening right here. And so make sure, if you do like this video, to share, to comment, to subscribe to our channel, and yeah. So until next time, as usual, happy clacking.